Hi friends, welcome to the EEMA session on GST. Thank you all for joining us. I have got a lot of messages that a few people are still trying to join in. So I'm guessing in the next few minutes we will have a large gathering. So we have with us today several friends from the event industry as well as many experts who are going to talk about GST and how it affects all of our businesses. As you know, it's a very large part of our business. We all charge an 18% GST, which is almost a fifth of the total revenue that we make. And if we are not able to claim it correctly, there is a huge loss that we all have. And every day the laws are changing. It's a dynamic system. All of us receive GST notices of a few years back, and normally we can't get our heads to wrap around all the technical jargon there is. So, it's a complex issue, and we hope that in the next hour or so we should be able to discuss it in great detail, and we should be able to offer some uh, clarity and some practical solutions on how is it that all of us can manage our GST problems better. So there are roughly 4 or 5 facets of GST that we'll be talking about, and if there are any particular questions, you can write it on the chat, and I will try and ask our experts about it. So with me today in this chat are Atul and Harshal from EEMA, who both run successful event agencies. And I also have two experts, Dinesh and Sumit. Dinesh is the ex-CFO of Viscraft and runs a successful company called My CFO. And Sumit is a chartered accountant. And before we deep dive into each of the areas, I would request each one of my co-panelists to please give a 30 seconds introduction about themselves. I'll start with myself. My name is Ankur Kalra. I run an agency called Vibgyor. I also serve on the National Executive Committee of EEMA as treasurer, and have been part of this industry for 20 plus years. Very passionately work on various causes in the event management space, including legal, financial, and systems and processes. So that is my background, and I hope that we'll be able to provide some value to all of you today on this complex matter of GST. Atul, may I request you to please come front stage and give us a 30 seconds to 1 minute introduction about yourself. Over to Atul.
Yeah, hi, thank you, Ankur. Hi, my name is Atul. I run a company called Enthuse Answers Communication. We've been in the business for about 18, 20 years and working across the country and the globe. The kind of work that we do, we've been working, engaging a lot of hotel and their services. Therefore, we would like to see how we can help and understand the GST ecosystem and how we can drive meaningful conversation and see if members can get some benefit out of this. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Atul. Harshal, may I please request you to come and give a little bit of a introduction of yours to everybody? I think Harshal is busy somewhere. Can we request Dinesh, please? Dinesh, can you please come front stage and give a little bit of introduction about yourself and the company that you run?
Hi everyone. Thank you, Ankur, for this invitation. My name is Dinesh Kumar. I'm having 30 years of experience, post-qualification experience. I'm a chartered accountant by profession, and presently run a company called YCBA, Your CF, and providing the virtual CFO services and management consulting services to the event industry largely and other industry as well. Before starting this company, I have worked for approximately 27 years across industries. And last 11 years of my stint as a service was as CFO of Viscraft. where I worked in this event industry and with the industry stalwarts and so many colleagues, those are running their own services. So looking forward for this session, and we'll try to provide our experience and our knowledge we'll share with you, and hopefully this should be beneficial for the industry at large and for people those are attending it. Thank you.
Thank you, Dinesh. And incidentally, I'm also an ex-Wizcraft person. I used to work there in the mid 90s. Next, we have Sumit Kedia, who's a chartered accountant, and he's been kind enough to take out time. Sumit, would request you to give a little bit of an introduction about yourself. Thank you.
Yeah, very good evening to everyone. This is Sumit Kedia here, chartered accountant. I've been practicing since last 11 years. Earlier, I have been specializing in service tax and excise. Then later on, GST came in, so specializing in GST. I have written a book on GST in 2018. Across the country, I have taken seminars, conferences. I am part of the indirect tax committee of CIA also. So I have taken sessions in all the chambers, basically FICCI or CII or MMA, all the chambers, listed companies I have visited across the country, whether it's Rajasthan, Delhi, Mumbai, to take seminars when the GST was implemented. I had even conducted GST impact study for various companies, including some of the Navratna companies of Government of India. So I have been quite active since the GST had come in, and even now I am taking seminars across on this subject of GST, because I think it is still evolving and still a lot of complications are still there in the subject. Thank you. Over to you.
Thank you, Sumit. Thank you so much for joining us today. And I hope that Harshal is back. Before we start our discussion, I'd request him to come to the front stage and give a little bit of a intro about himself to those who don't know him. Are you there, Harshal? Okay, so then we will skip that and let's jump straight into our conversation for today, which is about GST. So friends, while I have 4 or 5 points noted, which I will be discussing during this conversation. If there are any questions, please do write them in the chat, and I will certainly try my level best to pick up each and every question and ask our specialists about it. If anybody is not audible from the panelists, please do write it on the chat, and we will try and correct it. So let's start with the first issue, which is about GST input credit for hotels. This is our favorite subject as far as GST is concerned, and most of us have grievances that we are not able to take input of the CGST, etc., that the hotels charge. They refuse to charge us IGST, especially if we are doing events in a city that we are not based in. And it is a very large chunk. If it becomes part of our cost, it affects our profitability. Sometimes it makes us lose business as well. And Atul, maybe you can set the context for this and talk about your experience. You've been working a lot with hotels across the country. And then we'll request Sumit and Dineshji to shed their light as experts on this. So Atul, let's talk about GST input credits and hotels, especially where we are not present.
Sure. So I would like to add, you said favorite, at the same time, I would like to add painful as well. Because 18% is a large component, and the kind of competitive market that we operate in, if we do not have control over 18%, there's no way we can win this business. There's no way we can serve and execute the business. So there are times that it becomes a losing factor. And so what is the solution? Can we, this is what we will of course discuss today. For last few months and years now, there have been cases where you think of either go for a temporary GST registration, which we will touch shortly, which is also a painful process. You either register yourself in a particular state. After a few months, you realize that, okay, you were getting a lot of businesses, but suddenly the workflow has stopped in that particular state. Is it worth to maintain that GST? Is it financially viable to continue with that number? And how many? You can think of Jaipur, Rajasthan, Goa, Kerala, Mumbai, but how many? And more often than not, if you are registered in Uttarakhand, you'll get a query in UP. If you are registered in UP, the Murphy law prevails everywhere. and you most of the time you end up in the receiving situation. So it's been a difficult, painful question for some time now. You sometimes you take help from partners there, but there also there have been cases where because of certain lack of clarity in the terms and condition, relationship goes sour. Sometimes the output is not as desired. I mean, you would always like to pick up the business on your name than somebody else's name. So yes, it is a permanent sort of a problem. And yeah, I mean, the expert will here tell us the way forward. So yes,
Before before we get on to the experts, Atul, I'd like to know how many states were you registered in till a few months back, as far as GST is concerned?
we still are registered in about 7 states. And
Wow.
so guess what, last month only we surrendered Kerala registration, and after about 3 weeks of that surrendering the
You got a
certification,
big query.
we got a big query, and now we're taking help of Martin, and so yes.
Okay. So sorry, before I come to Dinesh and Sumit, Harshal is back.
Hi,
Harshal,
I'm so sorry, guys.
all gave our introductions. So while most people on this panel and watching us would know you, just give a 30-second introduction about yourself, and then
So,
we come to
I
step.
hope I'm audible perfectly now, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, hi, friends. I'm Harshal Kothari. I represent Rising Events Mumbai, and we are a full-fledged event management company, 15 years into existence in Mumbai. And at the same time, we also have a content creator space called as Recreate Spaces. That's a space for co-working, the content creator space. And thank you very much, EEMA, for giving a platform where we all can talk about the issue what we are facing with the GST panel, or GST registration. And I'm sure like we'll have a lot of insights and learning from this panel. Thanks a
Thank
lot.
you. Thank you, Harshal. So, Sumit, would you like to start the discussion with illuminating us on the issue with hotels, IGST, CGST, what should we charge, and how we can go about it in places specifically that we are not registered in? Over to you, Sumit. Sumit, you're not audible.
You're not audible, you're on mute.
Sorry, yeah. Now, yeah.
Yes.
Perfect.
So see, basically the concept of GST, when I'm going to charge a tax, it basically depends on a type of supply. It's an intra or interstate supply. So there's a section in IGST Act which says what is the place of supply, based on which we decide whether a transaction will be liable to CGST, SGST, or an IGST. So let's take an example. Harshal is in Mumbai. Let's say he's doing an event for a company in Chennai, and the event happens in Goa. So when Harshal is raising a bill to a company in Chennai for the event conducted in Goa, he is going to be charge me IGST. I will take input tax credit. Why? Because generally the GST law says that wherever the recipient is located, the customer is located, that will be the place of supply. So he charges me IGST, although the event happens in Goa. But when we talk about an immovable property, the event happened in Goa in our example. So in immovable property, they've given specifically that where the property is located. So that will be the place of supply. So what happens here is, let's say Taj property is located in Goa, supplier is located in Goa, customer is irrelevant here. Where the property is located, that becomes a place of supply. So since both the places are in Goa, he has to mandatorily charge CGST, SGST. So in nowhere, if you see any immovable property service, whether it's a guest house or it's a hotel or it's a banquet, no bill you will see with an IGST for an immovable property service. It is mandatory, has to be CGST plus SGST. So because of the provision in the law, the immovable property services has been given a special privilege that they have complicated this situation and made it a CGST, SGST transaction. Now, as per the provisions of input tax credit, now if I'm in Chennai, and in this example, the Goa hotel raises a bill either to the event management company, which is Harshal's company, or to me, both of us cannot take input tax credit because it should travel to us as IGST. Otherwise, both CGST, SGST in the invoice, we both of us cannot take credit. So this is a basically a peculiar situation which arises only in case of immovable property services. So not only event management, but any conference, anything, any business entity, whether they conduct a dealers meet or anything, everyone is basically getting hit by this provision of IEEMA property service. Now, to take input tax credit, the only option is, as an event management company, I will have to take a registration where the event is held, so that CGST, SGST I can take credit, and in turn then I can raise a bill to my customer. So that requires me to take a registration either as a casual taxable person, basically temporary registration, or I register as a normal taxable person. For a temporary registration, there are additional compliances also, that I will have to deposit my tax in advance. So I have to estimate my liability. Maximum period allowed is only 90 days. So that might be helpful maybe for a single or two events. That's it. So there are pros and cons to taking a casual taxable person registration also. So this is how the law is designed. Yes, yes, you are saying something.
So I would like to add here, given the kind of business that we are in here, the situation in the morning and evening are two different words. I mean, it is very, very difficult for us to forecast our 90 days liability and deposit the tax, you know. It is not possible for us, or I mean, correct me, Harshal and Ankur, if I'm wrong,
That's
it is
correct.
not possible.
Absolutely. 90 days becomes a very short as a period to just claim that thing. One more question I had. There was a discussion between the CA that, in case we don't even have a temporary GST, we can claim the central GST and not the state GST.
No,
Can
so
that be done? That can't be done. Can we claim the 9% and forgo the balance
no,
9%?
no.
Not so we need to have the temporary GST by
See,
default to claim both of them.
So,
yeah.
So
So
may I
basically, it will be
request?
both CGST, SGST, or none of them. It
I,
never travels single.
I have another question.
Well,
What
Atul, 1 second before we get to opening arguments. May I would like Dinesh ji also to please come in and
yeah.
shed some light on this particular issue, because he's also been dealing with this for a long time.
Sure.
So just to simplify what Sumit has mentioned, so as there are people and more entrepreneurs and everyone, just to have simplified, the basis of charging this is because uh, uh, the services are being consumed over there. These services, hotel, the basic concept and ideology or thought process behind this is because you are consuming those services in those particular state or city. That's why it is being charged local CGST and SGST of that. Yes, keeping the type of business we are in this event industry, I think getting a temporary, say, registration or a casual registration is not a solution to us. Though it is like certain thing, I just need to, we can deliberate and provide you, okay, what are the technicalities if you are taking. Yes, if it is a very big event or something where the project is going to run in months, if you are doing some certain big project, then it is viable. But taking a casual registration for 2-3 days of event and going again and again, like most of the people are going to Rajasthan or Goa or doing something in Karnataka or different part, it's a cumbersome process and not an easy process. So I'm coming again with the thought process, what Ankur, you mentioned, what is the practical solution and what should we do instead of going into this nitty gritty, and which is not going to solve whether going into this, whether taking a casual registration or taking a permanent registration and then looking for a business, whether getting business or not. The permanent solution, which I feel, and I think Ankur, you as a office bearer of this EEMA industry can also work out, is like we have our members across India. Almost all the states are covered under EEMA, and each and every state is represented by few members. You have that. So instead of doing and going through this cumbersome process, why don't we say have a representative or a business associate, and you use this terminology or this transaction and give award that particular specific transaction. Or not only the hotel booking, but some more part to it, enter into an agreement with that, and then let him pay the amount, and you that you pay to him, let him deal with that, say with the local hotel over there. He will claim the input, and in turn he will pass it on to, he will charge IGST and it will come to you. So the moment you do this, you are all taking hassle of going through this casual registration, making a permanent registration. If at all your business is too much in a, say like in a particular state, please take a registration over there. Otherwise, discuss, you as a forum can make, okay, in these kind of transactions, you will make X percentage. Openly discuss with them, okay, this is the profit element which we want to add. And you just focus on your business, need not to go into so many complications and deal with that. That is my thought process and idea and practical solution for dealing this. Otherwise, if you are having your temporary registration as well, you need to deal with GST authorities every time. You need to go there, face the audit and other inquiries and all such kind of things. All those things actually add to worries or the problems to the business.
Thank you, Dinesh. I think Atul wants to ask a few.
Yeah. So I want to add to that. I want to ask, see, you said X percentage. Now, X factor with event management is given. We are all born with X factor. The problem is the X factor. We work on such a small margin. Typically it is about 9 to 12%. And if you have a partner, if he's asking if that X is, let's say, 3-4%, then and hotel billing is substantially, sometimes most of the time it is substantial, then that 3-4% actually gives you a brunt. Number one. Number two, you have limitations. For example, we use a lot of credit card to pay hotel bills. Now I have the liberty to use that credit amount for about 50 days or less, or at least 30 days if I'm using my card. Whereas in this case, if somebody is then I can't use my credit card. I have to transfer through check, and they will. So that's another problem that I have. So again, these are.
So Atul, coming back to your thing,
because we neither get the margin on the hotel also. Client at times says that gives the best cost, and even the other agency ask for 1 or 2% that's going out of your pocket.
Yeah. But that again, when you are, I think we all are. I have also run for so many years. It all how you present it to your client and where you keep your margins and how you play.
Competition. We are in the age of competition, and everybody. The client always expects you to do the hotel billing free of cost.
That is an individual business, Harshal. I think we should request them for technical areas. So Dinesh, thank you. I agree with that.
My point to reply to Atulji's question is, yes, your point is very valid, but in the same point, we need to choose what particular, on one hand, you need to deal with the GST hassle, and the kind of complications and everything is there, and second hand, your points or credit period on credit card or some few margin. We need to choose what is better for our business.
What is the bigger evil?
So I think the second thing can still be negotiated and deal with your local partner. Okay, you make the credit card payment, we will make you after 30 days or something. But these kind of things, you won't be able to do it with your GST officers.
So, Dineshji, is it not possible that we pay the credit card, pay the hotel, but he raises the bill in the name of the local partner?
Yes, it is still possible, and let that local partner pay that amount to directly pay amount to your card. Why not possible? It is a transaction between all of you, but better it is not to do it, because again it established it is you are just routing it through.
Yes. I was just coming to that point.
It is not advisable. It is not advisable. Though it is possible, but not advisable to do it, because it will then establish that you are just circumventing this problem, this thing, and just routing it through this person. And and please note again, I want to highlight and mention this. This should not be only that you are assigning this work to him just for booking the hotel. You need to add certain elements so that it look a supply of event management. It should not look just you book a hotel, rest everything I will manage at my own.
One more question on the chat. DV Vinod, our colleague, is asking, what if we use the services of a service provider like a Make My Trip or somebody who has the ability to book the hotel and charge us IGST? How does that pan out?
It is completely possible. But in this case also, the negotiation and everything, the margin which we are discussing, You are passing it on to make my trip. It is easily doable for booking of rooms and booking of a banquet, but not for large size event where you are negotiating the prices, etc., with the hotel.
So, Ankur, I have a question for Dineshji.
Please, Atul.
Dineshji, for our audience, if you can tell us the viability of getting this registration in different states, and what is the cost? They say if my monthly cost is, let's say, 5,000 rupees a month or up to 10,000 a month, then probably we can plan and think accordingly. And what is the time duration which is required to take and what are the
Okay.
compliances to take a registration in a particular state?
So cost and
Okay.
hassles both, not just monetary cost,
So
but
I will cover that, because that is more than cost. The other impact is most important in this case, but I will cover as you mentioned, Atul. As far as the cost of taking a registration, and operational cost is not very big. Like, you engage a local GST consultant, they may charge you some 10, 15,000, 20,000 on just getting a registration. But if you are taking a permanent registration, then you need to have a local address. That maybe through a WeWork, or maybe through
Yes.
your permanent say, place of business over there. Then only you can get it.
Yeah.
In case of temporary registration, it is not required. You can take it at the name of address of that hotel also, and can do that. The issue and worry is the regular compliance. In case of temporary, as Sumit mentioned, you can do it. It is for a temporary period from 1 day to 90 days, and it is over. But in case of permanent registration, when you are doing it, then in that case, the issue and challenge is ki who is observing and supervising ki your tax is being paid in time, you're doing all proper compliances, you are keeping all your books intact for all those. Suppose you have 5 registrations, how your account team is accounting for all these 5 transactions. Tomorrow, if your Mumbai office, say GST officer coming, how you are able to explain him ki, okay, we have 5 separate registration, and how you are maintaining your book. That is a bigger challenge, and that need a proper scrutiny or supervision and guidance for that. So the cost, more than cost, regularly, if you, as I mentioned, monthly, some may charge 5,000-10,000 rupees, and you can do the compliance. But the issue is when tomorrow there is a audit or inspection, how best your accounts are being maintained so that this can be properly dealt with and answered.
But can't we just declare that we are based in Gurgaon? We have opened office in Kochi just to take input credit from the work that we do in Kochi.
No, you will do that, but for the GST registration purposes, you need to comply with all the requirements. If you are having a permanent registration, so you are declaring I am having a permanent establishment in this state. This is my local address. My
Yes.
office address is this, and
Yes.
I am running my business from this place.
Only for a particular purpose.
Yes, but purpose, you can't say I am just doing it for taking this input credit.
And
That's
do we have to
You-
register the office over there? Do we have to register an office agreement? Do we need to have a
Correct.
board over there? Are those compliances also required, or they are not required?
And once you are taking a permanent registration, means you are declaring and confirming that I am having a place of business in that state. And that needs to be what all regular compliances you are making, say for your business in Mumbai, same compliances you need to follow and complete for that particular place also. Suppose I'm still not much bothered about the, say, like taking putting a board or taking an office. I'm still emphasizing the pain areas which still people are not able to see or experience, is when a audit officer is coming, when this GST audit will start. At that time, how you are going to handle the situation. Sumit is experienced. Sumit has handled the GST thing, so he knows how still the people, service tax matters, still people are facing the audit. And you all must have experienced that most of the people have got the GST notices for
for 17,
compliance
16,
for
17.
17, 18, 17, 18, 18, 19, 19, 20. And just think of a situation when you are dealing with one officer from one state, you are dealing with 5 officer or 10 officer in 10 states, and all your people are answering and complying their requirements and everything.
See, government love for all of us is endless. So we keep getting these letters.
Yes.
I have a question.
Sorry, before that, Atul, there's a question on the chat asked by
Sorry, yeah.
Niral. Can my Goa office transfer GST to Mumbai office and Mumbai office bill to the client?
See,
Sumit.
Yes, Sumit, you want to answer?
yeah, so see, basically, as per the provisions of the law, the Goa office can pass credit to the Mumbai office if there is a service provided. See, there's a concept of ISD number in GST, which is Input
Yeah.
Service Distributor. Okay. So, if I want to just distribute the credit, then I will have to take a separate GST number, separate number of an ISD number to distribute credit. Otherwise, if I want to see, let's say I have a branch in Goa and I have a branch in Mumbai. In my Goa branch, I have an excess credit line. So I think the query is, can I just transfer the credit from Goa branch to?
No. The query basically is that if while he's headquartered in Bombay, he has an event in Goa, and I'm guessing, and since the bill is raised in Goa, can his Goa office transfer the credit that his Bombay office did for an event in Goa?
No. See, that's what I'm saying. So the bill will be raised to Goa, right? He has a branch in Goa. So the bill is raised in Goa. The Goa branch takes a credit. Then that credit can it be transferred to Mumbai branch? That's what I'm saying. He as such cannot transfer the credit. Only if Goa branch is providing the service to the Mumbai branch, they can raise the
Goa
invoice.
will have to bill. So Goa will have to bill. It's like Goa will become a subcontractor of Bombay.
Yes.
Possible.
So some service element has to be shown to transfer the credit and raise an invoice.
So can Vibgyor Bombay bill Vibgyor Delhi for that event? So if Vibgyor Delhi has picked up an event for 10 lakhs, it can subcontract that event for 9 lakhs to Vibgyor Bombay,
Yeah.
and Vibgyor Bombay can take the CGST and bill 9 lakhs to Vibgyor Delhi.
Correct. That can be done. Yes.
That is a workable solution.
Yes.
Niral, hopefully you've got your answer. So you cannot transfer credit unless you show it as a subcontractor, and that is the opinion of our learned friends. Atul, sorry, you were asking something. I interrupted.
Yeah. So, Sumit, I have another question. Is there a possibility that we can tell the hotel that you can divide your billing into two parts, room rental plus catering and hall rentals? So the room billing, at least if it is, let's say 60, 50% or 70% of it, we end up saving the taxes on catering. This I'm talking in regards to the smaller billing, let's say 4, 5, 6 lakh rupees, where even if you take some hit, you can still move on and get at least half of it.
Yeah, so I think that is a workable solution. Even practically, I have seen hotels where some of the hotels agree that yes, they will split the bill, but it depends on the category of the hotel whom we are talking to. Some of the hotels have a strict policy that they will charge only per plate for the banquet, for the
Yeah.
event happened. They do not split the bill. So if a hotel agrees to split the bill, then yes, it's a workable solution.
No, there are times when the contracting says room cost is X, dinner is Y,
In fact,
snacks is
mostly it is like that.
mostly it is like
That's
that.
how it is, Atul. You can't get it in that format. Most of
But
the hotels do it.
I want to pitch in over here just one thing.
Yes.
Atul
Yes,
just want
Dinesh.
to understand in this context, but how it is going to help Atul. Because in any case, as we discussed, all these services, whether it is rooming service, whether it is catering service, or whether it is banqueting services, if these services are consumed in a state other than where you are registered with, so hotel in all the cases are going to charge CGST and SGST only to you.
Yes, sir.
How it is going to solve your issue?
No, what I'm saying is, for example, is there a possibility that we can take input on catering services?
No, because the
Okay.
hotel is going to charge you CGST, SGST only.
Okay. Yeah.
The only possibility is if the hotel is doing catering outside its property and is acting as a caterer in another
Yes.
city.
But that actually is not the case, because even if they are doing the catering, they are going to provide in the same hotel premises most of the time. not at an event when you are doing some event in a stadium or at some other convention center, then it's a different case. But otherwise, it is a service which they are providing in their hotel, and they are going to charge you SGST, CGST only.
Right.
So the
Harshal, you were asking.
Yeah,
Sorry, Harshal.
So I have few questions and clarification needed because there is a lot of confusion with a lot of event planners that if this can be taken or no. In fact, someone I was talking in the morning also. So firstly, the question is in rooms there are some category of room which is under 2,000. They charge 5% and 7% GST. Can that be claimed or no? Point number two, can we claim the airline GST? Yes or no? Point number three, there was a very surprise bill what we got last week where we took a hotel block of 100 rooms, and the travel agency, they charged us 18% on the room cost, and there was a section called paperwork and internal work which was around 1.5 lakh, where they didn't charge us GST. So I was just wondering that how come they didn't charge that thing, and when we questioned them, they said that our margin we showed as a paperwork, and for that you don't have to pay the GST for it.
So, Sumit, you want to take up this, or as the moderator who want to?
I think Sumit, you can start, and then Dineshji, you can come in.
So, see, sir, basically there's a concept of pure agent in GST. So there's a specific rule wherein if there is a pure reimbursement as a pure agent, then on that reimbursement amount I need not charge GST. So all those paperwork and all is liable to GST. The person who has done is basically miscomplied with the law. Because I'll give a simple example. So let's say example, I am filing tax returns on your behalf. You transfer me the tax amount and I pay on your behalf. And I reimburse it from you. This I am doing as a pure agent. Example, I am a clearing agent. I am importing goods on your behalf. And you are transferring the custom duty to my account to pay to the government on your behalf. This reimbursement which I am taking from you is a pure reimbursement. Right? So these comes and see, because pure agent definition is very, very complicated. It comes with a lot of terms and conditions, and already from the service tax regime, we have a lot of litigations in this subject as to what is a pure agent, what is not a pure agent.
So what happened in that billing case, the hotel room amount was 12,000 rupees. The 10,000 he charged us the GST, and the 2,000 he has not charged us the GST, showing that thing as a internal paperwork charges.
So see, basically, I'll give you a small example. Let's say example, I come and
I come a wrong thing. Harshal, please tell him. Technically, is wrong.
Yeah.
Very definitely. Yeah, I mean that's what I was wondering.
See, I'll give you a small example.
So he's supposed to charge on the complete 12,000, right?
Yeah. So see, let's say example, I'm coming to Mumbai to audit your company, and I'm staying in a hotel. I pay the hotel from my card and getting reimbursed from you. There also, I will have to charge you GST technically as per the pure agent definition. So any reimbursement, until unless it comes under the definition of pure agent, is liable to GST.
And what are the, in a nutshell, what are the kind of different things that can come under free agent, pure agent?
See, that's why I gave 2 examples. No, that classically fits under pure agent. Reimbursement of a tax amount or payment of custom duties. Because in case of an event management company, I'm basically doing a composite supply of services, where there are various elements of services to provide some main service of a composite transaction, of an event handling transaction. So here I cannot say anything as a pure agent, because I gave an example of staying in a hotel for doing an audit of your company. But if the hotel is raising a bill on my name, when I raise a bill to you for reimbursement, I will have to still charge GST because I have utilized that service on my own account. So technically nothing can qualify as a pure agent on a simple terms.
And I would also like to add here, because of the scope, our services are so varied that most of the time, whenever we give reimbursement services, we end up in the net, because of the trade that we are in. I have noticed in past so many months and years that reimbursement usually doesn't work with event agencies. I mean, we are always on the radar as in when we write reimbursement on our bills. Sooner or later.
There was a time, Atul, I don't know if you remember, a few years back, we used to charge the GST or the service tax only on our agency handling.
Absolutely.
We used to try and pay the reimbursement. And a lot of us got into trouble at that time. Dinesh, do you want to add anything to this point?
Yes. Thanks again, Ankur, to Ed. I will share my experience. Like and as Sumit mentioned, when we say reimbursement, it should actually be the real reimbursement. And I will take it in event industry parallel. When we say it should not clandestine or being shown as reimbursement, but actually there is an element of profitability involved, markup involved in that also. So few things, as you asked Ankur to Sumit, what should be the things which should be there while claiming the reimbursement? As Sumit mentioned, even the requirement, if you go completely as per the law, even the invoicing should be in the name of the principal.
Yes. Service consumer.
Then actually it is a reimbursement. You have incurred the expense on behalf of your principal, and you are working as a complete agent. Then you are taking a reimbursement. There is no element of profitability or value add include in that. There should be a proper agreement and documentation, because most of the time in service tax regime, most of the event companies, they have gone into this litigation and paid heavy penalty because of this, because at that time they did it like a just reimbursement, but later on faced the flag from the department. These are actually not the reimbursement, and they were not able to prove that these were the reimbursement.
Absolutely.
So point is, if it is really a reimbursement, then even the invoicing should be in their name. Your agreement with the client should clearly state, okay, you are doing these payments on our behalf. This is your margin for handling all these activities, and this is the fees. In that case, if you are able to comply all those requirements, though it's a complex, still you may fall into the trap. But if you comply all those things, then you need not to charge on that amount. But in case of, again, I am saying in case of event industry, it is very difficult to say that we are doing as an, because we are doing a composite supply. There are too many elements involved in an event, and we can't say that we are just working as an agent.
We will never be able to establish our case.
Yes, because you are doing almost all things for a client for an event. How you will establish we are just working as an agent, pure agent for a client? Not possible. Now, just if I'm just taking liberty to answer Harshal's two questions, those are still unanswered. He asked, okay, can we take that credit of the food supplies or the amount? Then in
not
this
a food
case,
supply, it was 5% and 7% on the
5% or 7%. To my mind, as per my knowledge, yes, we can take this credit. We can take this credit, and 100%, because there is a technical term, because these services are not consumed by you, means your company, you are doing it for furtherance of business. You are doing it, you are paying and incurring this expense to provide the composite supply to your client. Hence, all these items, whether it is 5% or 7%, you are entitled to claim as input credit. I request Sumit to confirm his understanding, but as per my understanding, yes, you can take this credit. Similarly, like for the airlines, second question was for the airlines input credit. Yes, you can take. The only condition in that case is one of the condition is you should have the invoice in name of your company. In case of airline booking, the issue is that you don't get the invoice in your name. If you are getting the invoice in the name of your company, then definitely you can claim that credit also.
So Dineshji, we just to let you know and the other participants know, as EEMA, we have a tie-up with Make My Trip, where all the invoices come in the name of the issuing company and automatically show up on your 2A.
Perfect.
You don't even have to ask for the invoice.
Perfect. So good initiative, and this is problem for majority of the people, consumers, because they are not able to claim this for want of invoice, and it is a big relief for all event companies.
So Make My Trip only gives us an invoice of the service fee that they charge. The entire airline amount comes directly. They have taken our GST numbers beforehand, and it comes on our 2A and is already goes straight into our input.
No, going this credit in your account is fine, but
and we get an invoice also within 7 days.
Yes, that is important. And
we get it from the airline.
Yes. We get it directly on our email from the airline within 7 days.
Perfect.
Yeah.
perfect. So
Sorry,
I hope, Harshal, I have answered your 2 questions and queries.
Yeah.
And yes, over to Ankur again.
Just to add on that point,
please, you were wanting to add something.
yeah. So basically, like sir said, Dinesh ji ने जैसे बोला कि when it's a food service or something, we can take credit. See, basically, generally, industry cannot take credit on food, renting of motor vehicles, certain items. But in that provision, basically section 17B, clause B, section 17(5), clause B, they have prohibited to take credit on food, etc., etc. But in that, they have given a proviso that provided if you are using that to provide a service of similar nature as part of a mixed or composite supply which you are doing, then you can take credit. So generally, people have an assumption I cannot take credit on the food or catering part. But since you are using that as part of your wholesome supply of a composite contract, you can take credit because the law specifically provides you to take credit on that transaction.
But Sumit, tell me, if I take 10 clients out for dinner and as part of my business development, and I get GST on that, can I take credit on that?
Yeah, so basically, see, strictly speaking, as per clause B, proviso, you can take credit. Okay.
It's
But
a
you have
part
to
of
somehow show that it is part of that event management. So, example, you are conducting an event. So, as part of the event contract, you are taking people out there so that to facilitate that event, then we can take credit.
I
Sumit,
beg to differ.
I think
beg to
the food we
differ.
can't take it.
Let Dinesh ji complete. Harshal, 1 minute.
Yeah.
For with all due respect on this particular query, I beg to differ, Ankur. If you are taking your client for a dinner and you are claiming as a business promotion, you can't. You can't claim it.
Sonia twisted it saying you will have to somehow show that it is for that event. Not independently, you are taking a client for a. If you are saying that you are facilitating an event and as part of that event you are incurring that food and etc. cost, then you can take credit. But जैसे दिनेश जी ने बोला अपनी client को लेके जा रहे हो एक अलग dinner के लिए बाहर से, so that does not come under this because as I said, this cost should form part of that composite supply of transaction for that event. तो वैसा आप दिखा सकते हो, वैसा है तो आप अदरवाइज नहीं ले सकते.
Sir, one question. So,
Dinesh ji को complete करने दो भाई, एक second. Dinesh ji, want to complete this point?
Yes. To my mind, again, it is say like if even if you it will become a very controversial. Or if we do, there is no event at that particular point of time, and still we say okay, we have incurred that expense, etc. It is again subject to very verification, etc. Technically, what Sumit you are saying is right, but at the same time, practically, if you see, so we should keep a thumbnail because I'm addressing it point to have very clarity because there are event companies owners or maybe the accounts department people, those are attending this, so they should not take it as a just a thumb rule ki okay, उस event में बोला था, अंकुर ने पूछा था, किसने बोला था और हम तो ले रहे हैं सब उसके बाद. So it should not go like that. It is subject to that compliance and everything, and it is very difficult. So rule is if it is related to the event and it is you are doing for the client, yes, you can. But if it is for any other thing, you are doing after party or going for a pitching or doing all that thing. To my mind, we should avoid taking all that credit and going into that hassle. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
मेरे साथ थंब रूल सिंपल में ऐसे ले सकते हैं मे बी कि वो आप इस इवेंट में क्लाइंट से रीइंबर्स लेने वाले हो, तो फिर उस इवेंट का कॉन्ट्रैक्ट हो गया, अदरवाइज फिर नहीं है.
ओके, हर्षल आप कुछ पूछ रहे थे, सॉरी आई इंटरप्टेड यू.
So we do a lot of event at Geo World Convention Center where the billing goes into crores and where they charge 5% as GST on the complete amount. Geo, they themselves are saying that you can't claim this 5% even though if it is for your client. And here we are saying that we can claim it. So I think there is some disconnect because being such a huge corporate, they say आप claim नहीं कर सकते. And here we are saying that अगर client का reimbursement है तो claim कर सकते हैं. There is a disconnect.
इतना बड़ा अगर amount involved है तो आपको हमसे legal opinion लेनी पड़ेगी.
The reason I'm asking was currently we are charging 5% plus 18% to our client.
सर ये जियो से जो जियो का नाम जिनके साथ जुड़ा हुआ है वो ऐसा है नाम कि they must have find out some innovative way to charge 5%. But ये all these things will depend. We need to see the contract, we need to see the billing, and then it will be a better answer. Your query was कि whether food के ऊपर और catering के ऊपर.
My query was on the roping. My query was 5 and 7% of the rooming, because rooms which are under 2,000, it attracts 5%, and under 3,000 it's 7% in few cases.
So thumb rule is whatever your service provider is charging, and if it is for furtherance of your business, you can definitely claim, irrespective ki whether they are into this restriction of not claiming the input credit is for them if they are paying only 5%, not for the user, because you are further passing on this benefit and providing these services as a composite supply to your client. But I respect your point also. In that case, we need to see how they are charging and what is the means the kind of contract they are making. To my access, because few of my clients have also done events, but this kind of thing has never come across.
Yeah, same here. 5%. Yeah.
So I have a question, Ankur.
Yes, please, Atul.
From both these experts, if you can sort of throw some light on what we should avoid in terms of taking input, GST input. What is no? क्या कहाँ पे हमें खतरों का खिलाड़ी नहीं बनना चाहिए?
लक्ष्मण रेखा क्या है? Where do we have to stop?
मतलब क्या हमें ये कौन सा एरिया है जहाँ पे हमें बिल्कुल भी इनपुट नहीं लेना चाहिए? जैसे आपने कहा कि अगर हम डिनर पे पिच के लिए लेके जाते हैं तो वो कंट्रोवर्शियल है, अगर वो पार्ट ऑफ द कॉन्ट्रैक्ट है तो ले सकते हैं, अगर लाइक यू सेड अगर क्लाइंट उसका पैसा दे रहा है तो ले सकते हैं, अगर क्लाइंट पैसा नहीं दे रहा है बिजनेस प्रमोशन नहीं ले सकते. दीज आर स्मॉलर अमाउंट्स. ऐसे क्या कुछ फीचर्स हैं जहाँ पे हमें बिल्कुल अवॉइड करना चाहिए इनपुट लेना?
अतुल जी, आपके माइंड में कोई ऐसे कोई एरियाज है तो आप बताइए ना, उसका यस नो सीधे बता देते हैं.
जैसे अंकुर ने जैसे बिजनेस प्रमोशन एक एक्टिविटी है फॉर एग्जांपल, अब ये सिर्फ एक डिनर के बियॉन्ड, फॉर एग्जांपल समटाइम हमें वी हैव टू गो टू डेस्टिनेशन, बुकिंग फॉर 4 रूम्स फॉर 2 नाइट्स, स्पेंडिंग डिसेंट अमाउंट ऑफ मनी, एंड वो पिच हमें नहीं मिला तो वो ऑब्वियसली क्लाइंट से पैसा नहीं आएगा. अगर वो पिच मिल जाती है तो पैसा आएगा, अगर वो पिच नहीं मिलती है और उसका एक डिसेंट अमाउंट है जीएसटी का, क्या वो इनपुट ले सकते हैं हम?
तो अब आपने जैसे एक क्वेश्चन पूछा, यदि आपने अपनी स्टेट से बाहर जाके करा तो वो वैसे भी नहीं मिलने वाला है जीएसटी का क्रेडिट, क्योंकि वो तो सीजीएसटी चार्ज करने वाला है आपको.
फॉर एग्जाम्पल मैं कोची में गया और हमारे लाइक आपने कहा कि हमारे वहाँ पे मार्टिन है, दोस्त हैं, उन्होंने कहा कि इतने परसेंटेज, तो क्या हमें उनके थ्रू मिल सकता है ये? लेट्स से अगर हम गोवा में गए, हम गोवा में रजिस्टर्ड हैं फॉर एग्जाम्पल,
तो आप इसमें देखिए, अब जो पॉइंट आ रहा है इसके अंदर, अगेन यहाँ पे ये जो सर्विसेज है ना, यू आर इनकरिंग ऑल दीज एक्सपेंस, लाइक जैसे अब ऑल दीज एक्सपेंस, मोस्ट ऑफ द एक्सपेंस विल फॉल अंडर द डेफिनेशन, you are doing it for your staff or employees or yourself for getting the business, not for the furtherance of business.
No, but we are not doing it for
internal. Can I sorry, I am not an expert, but बड़ी सिंपल बात है, अगर आप अपने क्लाइंट को वो बिल कर सकते हो और आप दिखा सकते हो कि आपने अपने क्लाइंट से उसको चार्ज करा है, तो आप बिल्कुल ले सकते हो उसका इनपुट.
अगर हम उसको बिल नहीं कर सकते हैं,
यस, आपने समअप कर दिया है उसको, कि जो मैं वही एक्सप्लेन करने की कोशिश कर रहा था कि जो जहां तक आप, यदि इफ यू आर डूइंग इट ऑन बिहाफ ऑफ योर क्लाइंट, फर्दरेंस ऑफ बिजनेस, यू कैन. अदरवाइज सच एक्सपेंसेस, लाइक आपने बोला जैसे लिस्ट के लिए, जैसे अभी अक्षल जी ने बोला, आप गाड़ी का नहीं ले सकते हैं कोई भी, चाहे वो उसकी नई गाड़ी परचेज कर रहे हैं या उसके इंश्योरेंस है, रिपेयरिंग है. स्टाफ के ऊपर कोई भी एक्सपेंस आपने किया, उसके कोई भी ऐसा आपने, जैसे अभी बात हुई है, आपने क्लाइंट के बजाय आप अपने स्टाफ के साथ डिनर पे गए या लंच पे लेके गए या कुछ भी, आपने
इंटरनल एम्प्लॉय मीट जैसे
मैंने लैपटॉप खरीदा, उस पे जीएसटी पे किया, वो तो मैं ले सकता हूँ. मैं बिजनेस के लिए मैंने लैपटॉप बैग लिया, वो ले सकता हूँ.
बिल्कुल ले सकते हैं.
तो मैं अगर इसके ऊपर मैंने जूता खरीदा, मैं नहीं ले सकता.
नहीं, क्यों? वो कैसे लेंगे? आपके अपने बिजनेस का तो पार्ट नहीं है ना.
वो भी उसी दुकान से, लेदर की दुकान से, जहाँ से लैपटॉप बैग खरीदा था, वहीं से लिया था.
और अंकुर, अगर आप लैपटॉप खरीद के गिफ्ट कर रहे हैं तो उसमें भी ले सकते हैं.
नहीं, I would just like to correct, अगर आप गिफ्ट दोगे,
नहीं
सर, उसके अब गिफ्ट के ऊपर एक फिर वो दूसरी चीज भी आती है, 194R का भी, हम फिर वो हमारे आज के टॉपिक से बाहर है. फिर हम
अगर मैंने 100 कोई चीज खरीदी अपने क्लाइंट्स को दिवाली गिफ्ट देने के लिए, तो क्या मैं उस पर ले सकता हूँ?
हाँ, यस, ओवर टू यू सुमित, आप बोलिए, आप कहना चाहते हैं.
नहीं सर, बोलिए सर, कोई बात नहीं.
मेरे हिसाब से जो ये है सारा, देखिए, जब आप ये कोई भी आप ये नॉर्मली इसके ऊपर भी, बिजनेस प्रमोशन के ऊपर भी देयर इज ए डिसाइडेड केस, और उन्होंने उसके ऊपर डिनाई किया कि आप इसके ऊपर नहीं ले सकते। इसके ऊपर भी वो कहते हैं कि ये जो सारा जो ये फर्दरेंस ऑफ बिजनेस के लिए उसमें नहीं आता। देयर इज अ वेरी फेमस केस अगेन, पेज इंडस्ट्रीज का केस है, सुमित को मालूम है वो, तो उसके ऊपर उन्होंने मना किया कि आप नहीं ले सकते हैं उसके ऊपर।
सो सी बेसिकली व्हेन वी टॉक अबाउट कि किस पे क्रेडिट ले सकते हैं, तो जीएसटी लॉ में एक अलग से सेक्शन दिया हो कि इन चीजों पे नहीं ले सकते। अब जैसे आपने शूज की बात की, तो दैट इज देयर इज एन एंट्री की पर्सनल कंजम्पशन के लिए कुछ भी है तो क्रेडिट नहीं ले सकते। जैसे आपने सूट खरीदा, वॉच खरीदी, शूज खरीदा, ये सब आपके पर्सनल कंजम्पशन के लिए मान्य जाए हैं। Basically in general parlance it is for your personal consumption, so you cannot take credit. But if you are taking a laptop bag or a laptop, और आपने ऑफिस के लिए एसी लगाया, टेबल चेयर ली, फर्नीचर लिया विच इज मूवेबल, तो इन सब चीजों पे आप क्रेडिट ले सकते हो बिकॉज ये आपके बिजनेस के लिए है। बट अगर आपने कार खरीदी, कार में स्पेसिफिकली क्रेडिट ब्लॉक किया गया है, पर्सनल कंजम्पशन पे ब्लॉक किया गया है, आप किसी को गिफ्ट दे रहे हो, लैपटॉप आपने गिफ्ट दिया, आपने दिवाली में किसी को गिफ्ट दिए, तो एनीथिंग विच इज गिफ्ट फ्री और कैसे गिफ्ट और सैंपल, इन सब चीजों पे भी क्रेडिट नहीं मिलता। तो बेसिकली ऐसे कुछ कुछ चीजें हैं जिसपे क्रेडिट स्पेसिफिकली ब्लॉक किया गया है। अदरवाइज आप सब पे ले सकते हैं, मतलब ऐसे कि कुछ भी चीज आपके बिजनेस के लिए आप ले सकते हो एक्सेप्ट दीज 3-4 आइटम्स।
अब जैसे इसमें अंकुर आपने बोला शूज की बात, इसी को एक दूसरे एंगल से लेते हैं। सपोज ये शूज में एज ए पार्ट ऑफ योर इवेंट आपके क्लाइंट ने बोला है कि मेरे जो भी पार्टिसिपेंट है या मेरे जो एम्प्लॉइज
हैं, प्रमोटर्स हैं, उन्होंने सेम शूज पहनने हैं।
करेक्ट, तो एज ए पार्ट ऑफ इवेंट आ रहा है, तो यू कैन क्लेम दैट बिकॉज इट इज नॉट फॉर पर्सनल कंजम्पशन, देन मिल जाएगा क्योंकि वो पार्ट ऑफ इवेंट है वो सारा।
Okay, so now I want to move on to another subject. I think we've had a lot of discussion on this. There are two other points that I want to discuss. The first one is, other than hotel, is there a compulsion by the government to any of the other service providers to only charge CGST and not IGST, other than this movable hotel, that is a case we've discussed? Is there any other similar industry where they're bound to charge only CGST and not IGST?
No. There is no other.
To my mind, no. Yes, no.
Okay. Because there was some case recently in Jaipur where one of our members had a GST inquiry. He's in the business of providing penthouse services and event management services. Okay. Now they said that although you are not a hotel, you have provided the services in Jaipur of tent house services, you cannot charge IGST to your client sitting in Delhi. Is that correct or is that debatable?
It's a penthouse, right?
Tent house.
Okay.
Tent house. Shamiana.
समझ गया, पर इमूवेबल प्रॉपर्टी सर्विस टाइप पे आ गया ना, बिकॉज किसी चीज
ये उसी में आ जाएगा।
सर मैं क्लाइंट हूँ उसका, मैं दिल्ली में बेस्ड हूँ, मैंने उससे सर्विसेज ली, उसने मुझे दिल्ली के मेरे एड्रेस पे बिलिंग करी, इवेंट हुआ जयपुर में, वो जयपुर में है, तो उसने मुझे IGST चार्ज किया?
नहीं कर सकता क्योंकि वो जमीन है, जमीन पे मैंने टेंट बनाया, उसका रेंट चार्ज कर रहा हूं मैं, तो वो इमूवेबल प्रॉपर्टी सर्विस के क्लॉज में आ गया, फिर से
उसी में फॉल हो जाएगा।
हाँ,
तो वही तो मैं आपसे पूछ रहा था कि होटल के अलावा और कोई ऐसे है?
नहीं, होटल मतलब इमूवेबल प्रॉपर्टी सर्विस है बस,
मतलब जो इस तरीके की सर्विसेज में आएगा तो ये फॉल करेगा उसमें। अब जैसे आपने एक्सप्लेन किया ये, तो वो हमारे, या तो मैं आई कांट फोर्स, मैंने वो फोर्स ही नहीं कर पाया कि आप ऐसा भी कोई इसमें पॉइंट आएगा।
कि बैंक्वेट है या होटल है, मतलब या कोई रूम है, तो बेसिकली एनी इमूवेबल प्रॉपर्टी सर्विस में ये इशू है, ऑफ CGST SGST आएगा मैंडेटरी।
Okay.
वो उसने गलत किया, यदि उसने IGST चार्ज किया, he should have charged CGST and SGST.
Okay. Two other points. One is about international. Well, let us just talk for a minute. What if my client is based in India, but I have taken his people out of India? Now, how do I charge GST on that, and how do I treat that? Any of you, please.
So मैं, Sumit, with your permission, if you
please,
allow.
Please, sir, please.
So in this case, ऐसा जैसा सुमित mentioned in the beginning only, because generally GST is a law which is based where the taxability comes on the recipient, place of recipient. In this case, the other things come into effect, because the recipient of service is stationed in India and situated in India. The services, though actually the services are being provided outside India, but because the place of recipient is in India, the services will be deemed to be termed as the receipt in India, and you need to charge GST to the client.
Okay.
And I will add one more aspect, and which practically is being faced by few people, and I just handled this for one of our clients, where even I'm just adding a twist for the benefit of all in this case. Now you said that the client is in India. I am saying the client is outside India, and if you are providing certain services like your event or exhibition, something is happening in India. So few people are under an impression that it will be termed as export of service because the same law applies, it is outside India. But there is an exception given, a clarification given, where they said if it is a live event, it is a conference or seminar, then in that case, the place of supply will be that place of event, and you need to charge the client the GST amount.
So मतलब चिट भी मेरी, पत भी मेरी. गवर्नमेंट कहती है अगर आप इवेंट बाहर कर रहे हो, क्लाइंट इधर है तो भी चार्ज करो, इवेंट इधर कर रहे हो, क्लाइंट बाहर है तो भी चार्ज करो.
और अगर वर्चुअल इवेंट है
तो इन केस में भी वर्चुअल में थोड़ा सा डिबेटेबल है. जैसे अब ये इवेंट हो रहा है, सपोज ये पार्टिसिपेशन, उसके अंदर वो डिपेंड, क्लाइंट वो कैसे डिसाइड कर रहा है कि फ्रॉम वेयर दिस वर्चुअल इवेंट इज बीइंग कंट्रोल्ड.
इंडिया.
So from where this virtual event is controlled, like today, the Akshat is managing and the entire show is sitting in India and doing it, then it will be termed as the event is taking place in India.
Regardless of the participant, whether they are from
around the world. So the point, so my
even if the 100% participant are from around the world, no.
Correct. So my participant, my one humble advice to in this case is like, we as an event industry professionals, you all as an event industry entrepreneurs, we are thinking of ultimately we are passing it on this GST amount to the client, and ultimately the client is taking the credit of this amount. So we need to sincerely ensure that we should not fall in trap, because tomorrow you have billed the client. If you have billed less, client is over and above, and I'm not naming, but the client which I am talking about, like the company, big companies, they emphasize, and I fought with them with a big company. They were emphasizing and showing the opinions, etc., where they think, no, you need not to charge, it is export of service. And I proved them, and they finally agreed, yes, we will pay this amount. So sometimes we should not go into that trap, because ultimately, say, client will, once you bill, client pay, his part is over. You will be under trap, and it may not be now, but maybe after 2 years or 3 years when there is an audit, and at that time you will not only be paying this amount, but also the interest and the penalty and other things. That is, we need to ensure that all compliances related to that, you are properly ensuring your team is taking care of. Wherever there is confusion, you are using such platforms and having clarity on, and reaching out to the people, those are having knowledge about this subject and doing it.
Thank you. Okay. There is, in our last discussion, when we were talking about the tent house thing, KJ has written, but tent is a movable item. How is it immovable?
See, Sonia said that there is a land on which you are constructing a tent. So you are basically charging a rent where the land is also there.
So you are providing a residential services.
If I'm just dismantling the tent and giving it to you in your hand, that yes, please use it for 5 days, and then it's not an immovable property services. But yes, there's a land on which I'm putting up a tent and then charging you a rent. So then it becomes an immovable property service.
The platform भी तो हो गया ना sir. Stage platform भी becomes the same.
इसके ऊपर इसमें बात करते करते मुझे एक प्लान ध्यान आ रहा है. इसमें वो प्लानिंग ध्यान आ रही है. इसमें प्लानिंग हो सकता है.
इंडियन जुगाड़ कुछ आया आपको?
नहीं, जुगाड़ नहीं, प्रॉपर प्लानिंग.
हमारा जमीन से भी सब काम होता है ना. जमीन पे चेयर भी लगती है, टेबल भी लगता है, स्टेज भी लगता है, टेंट भी लगता है.
नहीं, इसके ऊपर ऐसा हो सकता है सुमित, जस्ट फॉर आवर डेलिब्रेशन की, सपोज वो आदमी खाली हम कहे कि आपसे हम खाली टेंट, आप हमें ये टेंट हमें दे दीजिए, एंड वी आर हायरिंग अदर एजेंसीज टू प्लेसेस देयर, और उसका रेंट अलग से करेंगे, तो सर हो सकता है.
If he has just rented the equipment to us and not erected it for us,
तो हो सकता है.
Okay, Niral is asking, Dinesh ji, you mentioned place of supply is where the event is. So how in case of hotel booking in Goa, we can charge GST even if we bring the credit via partner?
So, if I am understanding correctly, suppose I'm just first say simply saying कि I am sitting in Mumbai, I am doing one event for my client in Goa, and suppose the client is in Mumbai itself. Now, in this case, while I am billing my client to CGST, SGST, but suppose I have identified an associate in Goa, uh, entered into a contract, event management contract with that person. He is billing me and taking care of my event as well as the hotel payment over there. He is charging me IGST, and that input credit I am taking and discharging that while I am collecting this input liability, adjusting that IGST against my liability. I hope I have answered through this example.
Okay, another question from DV Vinod. What precautions should we take while we provide services in a SEZ, Special Economic Zone?
Yes. So in these cases, because these services are being treated as the export of services, in this case, the idea is to take a certificate. The invoice should be certified by those SEZ authorities over there, and services should be there in those premises over there. So that you again at that time, it should not happen that later on there are certain during audit period your compliances or those 4 or 5 technicalities or your say there is a 3 or 4 conditions, those need to be complied with while doing billing to a SEZ client, and you need not to charge GST to those clients here.
Okay, so if we provide services in that SEZ, our billing is into the SEZ and the client is there. So then we need not.
At the same time, I think there is some certification process also in that case. The SEZ authority, they certified that, okay, these invoices need to be certified and approved by them in that case.
Yeah, so see, basically, it should be for the authorized operations.
Yeah.
So generally, when you're billing an SEZ, you have to please be very clear with the terms with the customer, client, whether he will give the required certifications to you, because majority of the times the clients are unable to give those certifications.
Yes.
Okay. Atul, is there any question? Atul, Harshal, because I have one final one after this, but if you have
I
any
think I'm good. I think most of the points are asked.
Okay.
Too many answers for one day.
Critical question. Sorry. Another critical question.
Oh, last question. One question.
Please,
So
please.
if the vendor is not paying the GST, I mean, so it is a past case. Of course, a lot of people have followed the practices differently. But in the past, are around 25 lakhs worth of GST is being not paid by our vendors, and we had to pay on their behalf. So me and Atul and everybody were having a quick conversation last time that we have to pay that amount if the vendor has not paid, but you have to pay 10% of the amount and not the complete 100%. So can you answer that? Do we have to pay the full amount till the time the recovery is not done? What are the remedies for recovery? And are those remedies quick or it's a long delayed process?
So you want me, Ankur, or
Sumit can start.
Yes, Sumit. Yes, Sumit. Yeah, please.
Sumit, you are not audible.
Yes.
Yeah. So for the benefit of all the members, I will just spend 2 minutes on this because it's a little important point for all of us. So see, basically, supplier files his returns, it comes to my 2A. Okay. So there are certain provisions in the section 16.2 where one of the provision is supplier should pay his tax also. So even after it comes in my 2A, not necessarily the credit is eligible. Supplier should file 3B also and pay the tax. Okay. Now, so when we are talking about section 16.2, there are provisions that supplier should file returns. It should come in my 2A. Now 17, 18, 18, 19, various years, there are credits which are not reflecting in my 2A. So there are 2 circulars, circular number 183 and 193, where they have given relief to all of us. So 17, 18, 18, 19, if any of your suppliers have not filed the returns, it is not reflecting in your 2A, then you have to go and see the reasons. If that, let's say, B2B transaction, they have misreported as B2C, or they have erroneously reported your transaction, but they have paid tax, then you are eligible to take credit. There's a process to be followed where the supplier should give a self-declaration to you. If the amount of tax claim is less than 5 lakhs, that he has rightly deposited the tax, but he has made some errors. If the amount is more than 4 lakhs, it has to be certified by an auditor stating that yes, he has paid the tax. Now 17, 18, 18, 19, this circular came. But what about 19, 20, etc.? So in the month of July, 3 months back, they got another circular 193 where they given the relief up to December 2021. Many are not aware about this circular. So even for 1920, 2021 and December 21, up to then also they've got this relief. Now what relief they've gotten is, so October 2019, they brought a provision, Rule 36.4, where they said that out of 100 rupees, which is coming into my 2A, which is my ITC, at least 80% should reflect in my 2A. 20% they gave leverage. So now they're saying that 20% leverage, if it is not reflecting, you please get a certification. Then we will allow that credit of 20%. Then the 20% was reduced to 10 and then 5. So December 2021 up to then, if you get a notice that supplier has not paid tax, please get on to the reasons and you can get a relief by getting these certifications. After January 2022, it's a problem. Now, after January 22, if you get a notice, what to do? In that case, basically, if you see after January 2022, if I get a notice from the department, I go for adjudication, I get an order, then I can go for appeal. For appeal, I have to deposit 10% of the tax amount. Then there's a tribunal, I have to deposit further 15%. Then the case goes to High Court and Supreme Court. So basically, this is the hierarchy in which the case travels. So I need not pay the 100%. For the amount disputed, I will have to deposit 10% of the tax amount, which I am disputing.
But for that, I have to file a case, right?
Sorry?
Then if I file a case, then only 10%, otherwise 100% have to pay.
Yeah, if you're volunteering that yes, I've done a mistake, then obviously 100% would pay along with interest and penalty.
No. If a vendor has not paid, so in our case,
so Sumit, I think
the vendor has not paid, only they have shut down the company also.
Yeah, there are three conditions.
They've taken the money from us, they've not paid and shut down the company.
Vendor has not paid, they've shut down the company, they are not giving any communication or declaration. So what do we do now?
Dinesh, I think you can also come in. I think you want to say something, Dinesh.
Yeah, so in this case, I just slightly differ. If the vendor has not paid that amount, as the GST law clearly says, we cannot take the credit till the time the supplier has not deposited.
Yes.
So this is not an issue of GST now. Suppose in this case, what I am understanding, what Harshal mentioned, in this case, we have paid to the supplier. Supplier has shut down business. He has not deposited the amount.
And he is not giving any declaration.
And not given the declaration. In this case, the onus to pay that liability remain with us. As far as the recovery of that amount remains with the supplier, it is a civil matter, not a GST matter.
तो GST वाले कहते हैं जी आप अपने आप केस करो, हमारा कोई मतलब नहीं.
GST is very clear कि because supplier has not deposited the amount, we are not concerned. Irrespective you have paid or not paid, you pay this amount along with interest and penalty.
Dinesh, what if the supplier has shown in his 2A, but it has not come in 3B? मतलब he had initially shown, but then later it did not come.
So Sumit answered that portion. If it is due to some error, in that case, supplier need to provide a certificate declaration up to an amount, self-declaration, above that through their chartered accountant, and show the proof that we have paid this amount. Due to some error, this amount is not reflecting, maybe because of wrong classification or something. If department is satisfied, yes, this amount is being paid, credit can be given to you. But if that person has only filed 2A, it is reflecting in 2A, but he has not paid or discharged the liability, the owners remain with us and we cannot take the input credit.
See, I'm just sharing my personal opinion that if I have a genuine transaction where I have received the service, I have proper invoice documentation with me, and supplier is absconding or his number is cancelled for any reasons, and he has not deposited my tax, so department is issuing me a notice to disallow my input tax credit. So there are certain court judgments which are in my favor as a recipient, then I should be allowed the input tax credit. So I generally advise people that if you have a proper documentation in place, then we can definitely fight this case. See, because here it is no fault of mine where the supplier has not deposited the tax. So as per law, but like Dinesh said, as per law, if supplier has not paid, the onus comes from the recipient. The way the law is designed, this issue is there in the length and breadth of the country.
No, but if I have paid and the supplier has not paid, I have to pay the GST department again.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah.
correct. So that's
Yes.
a that's a big problem in the GST
With
law.
penalty and
This
interest.
provision is being challenged across the country.
Yeah.
Because of for no fault of mine, I have deposited taxi. In case of Bharati Telemedia, Delhi High Court even said that the department has all the machinery and provisions. Why don't you go and catch the supplier? Why you are penalizing the recipient who properly complied with the GST law?
Correct.
So
Yeah.
department is basically subcontracting their entire work to us.
Yeah.
That someone is not paying properly, please catch him and ensure that he pays tax on your behalf.
They are just passing on it is their duty to collect from that
Exactly.
person. Instead of they doing that duty, they are passing it on to the company.
See, because as a
No?
standard practice, at least my company's practice is that we do not clear the GST till the time we don't see it on 2A. So if it
But
is
if
100 rupees plus 18 rupees, we pay 100 rupees. We hold on to the 18 rupees. When it comes on 2A, then we pay. But after that, also, if the vendor does not pay, what do we do?
so,
So
it
I
is
just
still
conclude the line of
you are only
witnessing.
partially protecting. Partially, still you are not protecting. We should add one more aspect to it, and which is a practical suggestion I would like to make. Whenever you are your team is adding a new supplier, we should always check their by entering their GST number. We should check their past history. Are they regular filing their returns, etc.? Because I have experienced certain cases where they have charged the GST, but their numbers were already say cancelled, or because if they have not, some person has not filed their return for certain period, their number will be cancelled, temporarily cancelled. But still, certain scrupulous person they charge GST, etc. So first precaution and as a standard process, all companies they should ask their accounts department and the people, okay, you check first whether this person is regular in filing the return. We need to filter those people so that at first filter such persons are out in that. There is a genuine thing, but still we need to continuously check, okay, if he has filed in 3B, because if it is we should check that next month, if we are not getting that amount or something is happening, we should check he has filed their return or not. This is an additional burden, but it protects financially us, and it is saving a huge outflow by way of such penalties and interest or other things in future.
Just to add one point here, so like sir said, so basically this is then the public domain. Search my taxpayer, you can put the GST number of any entity and you can see that their last few returns are properly filed or not,
Correct.
when they have filed, even the date. So that really can help. And even big listed companies also have implemented this process where they do rating of their vendors. Some
Yeah.
vendors who are big vendors, they do A rated. Then who are regular with us, we know their credibility, they rate B.
So, is there any
Some
independent agency like a CRISIL or somebody who does rating of
No,
these? Or
no, no, no. What I'm saying is company internal policy, they do rate a vendor. If
okay.
it's a new vendor or a small vendor, they rate under C category, and all those payments alone, they will just withhold the GST amount and they will release the balance amount. So
So
even listed companies like Ashok Leland have implemented these practices.
So Ankur, in this case, EEMA can initiate this and then can do this. Okay, if such vendor, it will be a great help where the rating can be done for such suppliers or something. So it will be a great help for them where you can categorize, and EEMA as a body can do this exercise. Yeah.
Sure. Let's connect offline for that. I have a few questions on the chat. I'll very quickly go through them.
Okay.
Survi says, I have registration of Mumbai and Bangalore. I want to book hotel all over India. How should I get credit? Dinesh ji and Sumit have already answered, saying it's best that if you subcontract the services to local agencies and take credit through them. I think already been addressed. Sanjeev is saying need advice on notices receiving by event agencies from GST department on 2016, 17 and further. GST has implemented input law in 21. I think this has also been discussed. Sumit spoke about the notices of 183 and 193, which have been, so up till December 2021, it's been fairly rationalized by the department. Gautam is saying, give some light on ticketed event, the GST levies. Would any of you like to please address that on ticketed events? specifically, please, Dinesh ji?
Yes. So like in ticketed event also, there are two aspects in a ticketed event. One is I would like them to clarify which aspect they want to check, the output services or input services, what aspects they want to, but I will touch upon both so that at least I can answer. There are two types of revenue in a live event or ticketed event. One is the ticket revenue, and the second revenue is sponsorship revenue and the sale of F&B, etc. At the same time, input services, if we talk about, so they are all event production, technical, and all that thing. So one more aspect, which is again a very hot topic, is sponsorship, charge on sponsorship, RCM. So today this is not the topic, so I will not touch upon, but only talk about the ticket. Yes, in ticketed event, when you are normally the practice is you hire any ticket booking agency like Book My Show or Paytm and Insider. They sell your ticket and they pass on that proceeds to you, and they provide a complete report. So as per that report, you need to discharge that liability. What the ticket amount, according to a ticket amount, they charge the GST, because up to a minimum amount there is no
500.
GST, and they, yes, 500, and thereafter whatever GST liability is there, you need to discharge that liability. And whatever input you are having, suppose you are claiming as a sponsorship, so you need to proportionate. You cannot take the input credit of that amount, and only the credit to that extent of in proportion to the income where forward charge is there. You can take the input and then avail the input credit, and balance amount needs to be discharged as the GST liability.
What about sponsorship, since we are talking about it?
Sponsorship again a sponsorship is one thing where, as per GST law, it says that RCM is applicable. And once you say RCM, means the person who has given you the sponsorship, they are liable to pay discharge the GST liability on that. So the moment you are the loss for event company when you are doing this in this fashion is the proportionate amount of that sponsorship amount. You are not able to, or you can't avail the input credit to that proportion of the revenue of the input credit. So there is ways how you can say complete or comply the law as well as take the input credit on that. As I said, this is not the subject, so I will not touch upon that today. And if you really want to, then if everyone had time, so then I can throw light on that. Otherwise, sometime later.
Sumit, would you like to add anything on this?
Ankur, I'm sorry, but I'm just interrupting. I'll have to leave. Little personal commitment is there. So I'm so sorry for that.
Yeah. So we'll be finishing another 5 minutes. You, Harshal, thank you for joining in.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Would you like to add anything on this subject? You're mute.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like Dinesh rightly said, in case of sponsorship service, basically the recipient of the services, if they're a partnership from our company, they pay tax. So let's say my revenue for the event is, let's say, 1 crore rupees. Out of that, 30 lakhs I get for sponsorship. 70 lakhs is the taxable income. 30 lakhs is basically, for me, it becomes an exempt income for the purpose of ITC. So whatever input tax rate I have, 30% I cannot take proportionately. Because on the 30% sponsorship amount, the company who is paying me sponsorship will pay GST.
Okay.
So it's a little tricky subject. Like Dinesh said, it really requires time to deliberate in detail on the subject of sponsorship. But otherwise, I think from your industry perspective, I think we have covered all the aspects of ETC.
And Ankur, there is a solution for that, and we can surely work on that if it is required for that.
Sure. All right. Yeah. So I'll just move on. I think Gautam has got his answers as far as ticketing is concerned. Sanjeev Kapoor says the law has come in 2021, 2017, 18. It was not fully working. Sometimes the website GST was not working properly. I think we've discussed that, and they've given some relief. Abdul Nasir says, if we have an office in 2 districts in the same state, separate GST registration is mandatory for both ?
Not required, sir. Not required.
Not required. If they want, they can take, but not required.
It's an option given.
Generally, people take, if their type of business are different, then they take different registration. Otherwise, one registration, one state, one registration is enough.
Okay.
It's one state, one tax, not one nation, one tax.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yes.
Great. I think we've covered most of the points, and it's been a very illuminating discussion for me. Atul, if you have any last points to add or questions to make, please give us your experiences. You've also been an expert. I've taken your help sometimes when I've done events in other states. So please, any closing points or questions, Atul?
Thank you, Ankur. I think we've had a great discussion, like you said, illuminating. But the problem still remains. I think one state, one tax instead of one nation, one tax, and we have to live with it. Like Dineshji and Sumit said, we'll have to figure out ways, like they are saying, find out alternative in between to reach a situation where we can make client also happy, make ourselves also happy, and make money in the process, and make all the compliance complete. However, this will remain. I mean, it is however weird this may sound, but this is what it is. And like Indians, we will have to figure out our ways and figure out, like event managers also will have to meticulously find out our ways and see how we can address the elephant with the help of EMA is a great body for that matter. Because of the legacy and footprint of EMA across nation, we have liberty of, now there are members in each state from smaller to the biggest state, and all of them are there to help without any additional X factor, so that the energy that X factor is also taken care of. So these EMA is a great body in helping all our members. So the members are actually coming forward and helping each other in this case. And if there is a change in law in the future, of course, we'll all look forward to that. So that's it from my side, Ankur. Thank you so much.
So Dineshji and Sumit, thank you so much. What I'd request you to do is in the chat, just write your email IDs in the front stage part, so that if any of the people who are attending have any specific questions or want to reach out to you for any kind of consultation or any help, they can reach out to you directly as well. And a lot of people are thanking us, and thank you for taking out time and giving so much of knowledge to each one of us. And there has also been a request to do a session on ticketed events, sponsorship, etc. So we'll get in touch with you and find out if you are available for that as well.
Thank you, Ankur, and thank you, the other panelists. Thank you for this opportunity, and it was really a good session. I'm happy if I say and me and Sumit, we both have added value. It will be definitely, and in future also, or other person, any person, say as you mentioned, I have shared the chat. I will be more than happy to help out anyone, and if anyone has any specific queries for this. I hope we are able to answer and the queries what the panelist has asked and the audience has asked.
Yeah, so thank you, EEMA, for inviting me.
Yes.
Definitely, it was a pleasure addressing everyone, and it was very interactive. So sometimes only if we speak, it becomes a little boring. But since it was a panel discussion, I think that really added value to the members, I hope.
Yes.
Yes, it
The
did.
format of the
Everybody,
session was very interesting. Yeah.
thank you.
And big thank you to Ankur also. You moderated it very well.
Thank you. Thank you, Dineshji, for taking out time. And we will keep troubling you and Sumit on these
No
issues
problem.
going forward. And
No
EMA will
problem.
certainly try to put that rating process and do something as an industry to help out on these GST issues. So
Yes.
thank you, everybody. Signing out. Thanks for your time
Thank
and thanks for attending. And look forward to seeing you all many other illuminating sessions like these. Thank you.
Thank
you.
you.
Pleasure joining. Thank you.